Just tell us a bit about the types of jobs that you do.
So during the construction, I was the ecological clerk of works. I was out here on site working with all of the contractors, making sure that everything was going according to plan, looking after the wildlife. And now construction's all finished, it's continuing the habitat creation works and putting in all the plans that have been there for years into place to enhance it for all of the wildlife.
And for those people who are into bird watching and want to know why this site is such a special site, it's got a huge number of different designations, hasn't it? Ramsar site, Triple SI, Site of Scientific Interest. It's also a special protection area in places, isn't it? And just tell us about some of the species that are here.
Well, it's mainly important for its overwintering wildfowl. We have 11 SPA species, so they're mainly ducks. So we have the pochard, the tufted duck, which are kind of diving ducks. And dabbling ducks as well, so the gadwall, shoveler and teal. We've got an awful lot of teal over winter. Also got cormorant here, a big breeding colony of cormorant, which is key and is one of the citation species and quite unique to this site. And then we have waders coming in as well. So anyone coming here over winter, you get lots of birds, waders, waterfowl, summer months, the normal farmland birds. Whatever time of year you come, there's a lot of wildlife.
And occasionally you do see a bittern here as well, don't you?
Yes, occasionally. There's also marsh harrier, the occasional osprey, lots of other birds of prey.
And very good for owls as well, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
yes, short-eared owls, and we've got barn owl boxes up.
Now I think we can see some of your work happening out in the field. We're looking at you doing a duck count at the moment, because that was one of the things you had to do, actually count the ducks, didn't you?
Yes, it's quite hard. We've counted the ducks for years and years, and it gives us a really good basis to understand what's going on at the site. It informed a lot of the pre-construction work as well, and it allows us to monitor how the site's changing, which has been really useful because we've seen an increase, which is great for the scheme.
And you mentioned there that the construction work was managed around the particular different species. Just tell us a bit about how that management process happened. I think it was different sections of the reservoir were worked on at different points depending on when species were around.
Yeah, well we collected an awful lot of information about how the site was used by birds before construction started, before we ever went near construction phase. So from that we were able to work out which parts of the reservoir were used most at which times of year. So we kind of worked it so that we could basically not cause disturbance to any of the birds whilst on site. And yes, as you say, we split it into different areas and only had people working in certain areas at certain times of the year. And yeah, it seemed to work very well.
There's been a lot of work to enhance the habitat for species here at Abberton Reservoir. That includes things like big long shallows, which previously wasn't the case, wasn't it? Just describe how the reservoir has changed for the better for wildlife.
Well, the reservoir originally was just concrete sided, quite steep, and it's amazing how great it was for wildlife then. So what we've done is grade it all back and create very shallow areas and different lagoons that will hold back water. So for wading birds and for dabbling ducks, it's just a massive improvement. And then we're putting in place reed beds and other wet grasslands, loads of different types of habitat to benefit all of the wildlife that come here.
And during construction you had to rehome some water voles as well, didn't you?
A few times, yes.
So what that meant moving it from different locations on the site to other locations, didn't it?
Yes, well fortunately we had a 6-hectare site down at one of the other parts of the reservoir that's kind of designated a quiet zone for wildlife, and that has established into a great reed bed area with loads of different nooks and crannies for waterfoals. There weren't any there, so when it came to actually moving them from the construction site, we had a perfect place for them to go. So yes, we trapped them out, they went on a little holiday just to make sure they're all okay, and then came back and were released, and they're doing very well. We monitor them still.
Now the reservoir is open for visitors to come and visit, isn't it?
Yes.
The Essex Wildlife Trust run a visitor centre here. Just tell us a bit about, would you recommend going down there and watching some birds?
Oh, absolutely. They've got a great setup, fantastic views over the whole of the reservoir. They've got loads of books and optics for you to look at as well, and very good cake.